Saints Happy Hour breaking news is brought to you by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. To learn more and to find a location to get a bottle near you, go to hardhidestrawberrywhiskey.com. Saints making trades before most of us are even out of bed and finished our first cup of coffee. I got Andrew and Kevin with me. I got Thomas running the show back in Poland. The Saints have traded a 2026 seventh round pick for an LSU Tiger. That would be Davon Godchaux of LSU. He's from Plaquemines. He's a Louisiana kid. This is awesome. Kevin, the Saints trading away future assets while you sleep, and you look as angry as you sounded in the pregame.
I would like to think I'd look as worn out as I sound. Juge, before we started rolling, said, "You look like you stuck a fork in a light socket." And I was like, well, I found out Mickey Loomis was trading away future assets, and I said, I don't need this shit anymore. So, Mickey, you have to trade 9. You have to trade down from 9. You have to. You have to trade down from 9 because the only way you're going to rebuild this team, especially when you're changing the especially when the defense is being changed entirely.
Kevin wants that 7th round pick back.
Especially when the offense has all these holes. You need to have more draft picks. You have next to no room in the salary cap to wheel and deal, my man. You need to get more draft picks this year and next year.
Well, Kevin, I'll say this to you. Maybe Loomis is playing a little chess because if Juwan Johnson, Chase Young, and Adebo all sign multi-year contracts that average more than $5.5 million a year, you're getting at least a 5th round comp for 2026. Now, it depends on free agents they would sign, and it would have to balance out. But I really think like this 7th round pick is probably coming back via comp picks. But besides that, Andrew, my thing with the Saints is this is low cost unless you view every 7th round pick as a future Marcus Colston. Then it's a disaster of a trade. But I feel like this is like the Saints. They have to build a 3-4 defense. Like you have to try to have a competent NFL product, and they don't have any 3-4 defensive linemen, Andrew, or they don't have any that are particularly good at it. Cam Jordan could have done it, but he's old. So like I feel like this is just the Saints like being like, we got to try to have like a functional 3-4 defense, and this is a shot to try to do it.
Well, first of all, Ralph, I just want to point out how polite I was because I'm a little under the weather. I need to keep my throat moist, and I had a lozenge, a cough drop, and I finished it on mute before I started talking. So I didn't bring gum with me, and I'm not chewing it while I talk. Just saying. Just saying,
Mickey Loomis.
But I was able to prepare with a lozenge and be ready to roll with my voice being anyway. Yeah, I mean, so let's backtrack for a second. I think it's easy to say like trading assets for players, like we need picks. Why are we trading? Like, first of all, this is like for like. You get player for pick, 1 for 1. To me, that's different than you trade up where you're giving up 2 picks for 1, right? And you move up in the draft, you get maybe a more talented guy, at least on paper, but it's 2 for 1. This is like for like. This is body for body. So that's a little different. I just point that out. The second thing is I view anything after the 5th round, and unless you want to go all Colston or Zach Strief with it, anything after the 5th round, like I would put the odds of that player becoming a starter at less than 1%. So if Godchaux comes in and he's immediately a starter, he starts 1 game for the Saints, 1 game. To me, that's worth the trade of a 6th or 7th round pick. So I'm fine with it. Again, backtracking real quick to a discussion that we had many moons ago about switching to a 3-4. This was several shows ago, but this is what we talked about. The number one thing you have to have is a run plugging defensive tackle, a nose. It starts there. This player qualifies. He fits that description. Interestingly, the Patriots are switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3, so they had no more use for him. They were looking to unload him. And the Saints are like, this is exactly what we need with this switch, so we'll take him. He hasn't missed a game. Now, I will say this whole injury thing with the Saints, like this is really going to get put to the test because he hasn't missed a single game in 4 years. He's like Cam Jordan Iron Man. So if he gets hurt, this medical staff is cursed. But he hasn't missed a game in 4 years. His tackle rate I saw was 94.4% last year, second highest among defensive tackles. He's known as an elite run stuffer. He's not going to give you much pass rushing, but look,
he's a starter though.
He is a starter, and from a scheme.
So they acquired a starter.
Yes,
for a 7th round pick. Okay. That's acceptable. I still hate trading away assets. If he's actually the starter,
yes,
or is essentially competing to be the starter, then that should change the entire calculus then of the draft.
I mean, look, they could still get a nose to be his backup, so and have competition, so that maybe he's not the only guy, obviously.
Well, right, but I mean, what I'm saying is, you're not, even if you traded down from 9, you're not using the first pick you have on a nose. Like if Kenneth Grant
which honestly you shouldn't. You should.
Right.
A nose is a situational player on 1st and 10, 3rd and 1. But the last thing I'll say about this, and I tweeted this morning, like there's a lot of reasons to like this trade, right? You get a starter, you're going through a scheme change. He's kind of the first player of the new era. So there's a lot to like, but the big thing to me is when you look at this defense and how bad it was last year, they were 31st in the league, 4.9 yards per carry against the run. And New England was pretty good. They were tied for 13th. They gave up half a yard less, 4.4 per carry. Saints were at 4.9. And Godchaux was by far like one of the most important pieces to the success that the Patriots had. He was a net positive against the run. And so to me, that's the first thing you want to fix. When you look on paper at how bad the Saints were and you look at film, you're like, this team can't stop the run. It's hopeless. And so that's the first thing you have to address. And you give up a 7th round pick. You have a guy, I think he was at like 2 years, $12 million was his deal. I think he
$4 million guaranteed.
And apparently they're redoing that deal. So as soon as that trade happened, they're going to redo his deal and it's going to be different. So I'm sure it's going to be cap friendly. I'm sure, we know Mickey Loomis is good at that, making the numbers work. So this feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah. And the thing is with this Saints team, as I mentioned, like you've got to try to be competent. And I will say this for Godchaux, like I already like him more than I like Carr. Like he seems super pumped to be home. He thanked New Orleans before Anthony Davis did. And he's not even leaving. But I like look, we thing is with Saints fans, Andrew and Kevin, like we love our locals. We love our local players, our LSU Tigers. And maybe, Andrew, this is a thawing. Like the Saints, they started to draft some LSU. Some LSU guys. They brought Honey Badger. Maybe the no LSU thing with the Saints is starting to thaw. They could draft the offensive lineman maybe at the top 10. You never know.
Well, the defensive scheme was a big thing. Like it never made sense for defensive players. I mean, Quan Alexander is really the only one I can remember, but a lot of those guys just didn't make sense for the Saints schematically because LSU's scheme didn't fit the Saints. Well, this is kind of the first time it has. I know that Sean Payton and Orgeron in particular butted heads. There's bad blood dating back to when Orgeron was on his staff. So for a long time, I think Sean Payton had kind of like a no LSU player policy. I mean, it wasn't like ironclad, but I mean, there was the defensive scheme part. And I think there was also this perception that LSU guys are poorly coached, and Sean Payton likes smart, intelligent football players, and he didn't feel like he was getting that a lot of times. And so, yeah, that the Ohio State kind of profile was much more appealing to him, obviously. But yeah, I think this scheme changes the calculus, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe this is the first of many to come.
Listen, this podcast, the Saints gave us breaking news, which is fun. Sign up to go to Saints Happy Hour, patreon.com/Saints Happy Hour. Become a patron, support the show. We'd appreciate it. But free agency starts today. This podcast is going to be before that. So let's do a little free agency preview real quick, because the tampering period starts at 11. People are going to sign. Free agency basically started, Devontae Adams signed and all that. Metcalf got traded. So look, free agency and the offseason is well underway for the NFL. But here's my thing, Kevin. You don't like the trade of assets. And I respect that. And Andrew made a point about it's not a trade up, so it's not 1-for-1. But here's something, Andrew and Kevin, that's going to drive me nuts. And I'll be as angry as Kevin. Andrew, the Saints have to stop doing the high-priced one-year rental. And what I mean by that is Chase Young, he's going to count $9 million against the Saints salary cap, whether he's on the team or off. They can't keep doing that. Like you can do that when you're chasing a ring, or even with the first 2 years of Carr, they're like, listen, we're trying to win the South. We're gonna get a player now. We're gonna pay later. I don't want them to do that. Do these trade for a guy or sign a guy that's a mid-level kind of bargaining. I do all that you want, but I don't want the Saints to be going and being like, oh, they signed him and it's 1 year, $9.5 million, and it's going to void and it's going to count $10.5 million on the 2026 cap. Stop that freaking nonsense. And I think they are, Andrew, but you gotta look on your face like the cripple's going to be disappointed that they may still do their 1 year void nonsense.
Well, I mean, I still think there's value in keeping Chase Young, especially because he's worth more to the team. He could be cheaper this year on the team than off of it, Mm-hmm. But they haven't gotten a deal to the finish line to this point, which means he's testing free agency, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, I think with guys like Chase Young and Adebo, I would expect them to get offers from the Saints, and if they find better offers elsewhere, then the Saints have that price tag kind of already carved out, and so go get the next guy at that position, right? So I think they'll be active. I mean, yeah, I think in general I agree with your theory, which is that, you mentioned when we talked before the show, like that 2017 strategy of they got AJ Klein, they got Ted Ginn Jr., they got who was the third player they got?
Warford.
Larry Warford. So, I think swinging for these 3-year, $15 million deals, where they pay, mid-level guys a decent amount, but it's not, kind of the 1 year, $15 million, $10 million prove it deal, which wrecks your cap. I'm with you. I think they should probably adopt that strategy and give guys maybe a little bit longer term deals that give them more flexibility and maneuverability.
Kevin, Adebo, he's back on the gram doing backflips and stuff. If you were the Saints, would you make not an all-out press to keep him, but would you offer him the going rate for a corner, which would be probably the low end, $13 million a year for 3 or 4 years? Would you try to keep Adebo and use current future cap? Would you try to keep him?
$13 million a year?
I think that's probably the low end. I think he's going to get more than that. No. Andrew, you think what's it? Your joke about me? I always overprice free agents.
You always underprice. You're always like, they paid what? You're always shocked at and I'm like, yeah, well, it's going to be higher every year, kind of like the cap goes up. So yeah, I think every year you see a contract, and that doesn't set the standard for what guys are going to get paid in the future. Mm-hmm. That's that year, and you should expect it to be higher the following year. So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a nice free agency period for a lot of guys. People are going to get paid. Contracts are going to be crazy. You're going to start to see defensive players, receivers, non-quarterbacks making 30 million a year, more than that. So that's the new CBA and the new cap that we live in.
And Kevin, I feel like we'll touch on it. We'll touch on Derek Carr on the main show on Tuesday. But I feel like this Saints free agency period, I am a believer that Mickey Loomis is going to stay the course. They haven't spent last year. I don't think they're going to spend this year. I think they're going to get their cap back to normal in 2026. I don't think they're going to spend. Did this trade, while you were waking up, getting breakfast, making some coffee, did this trade make you think Mickey Loomis is back on his bullshit? And like they're going to do a bunch of moves? Or are you like me and you're like, nah, this is just an opportunity that came along and it's not really that big a deal? Or
I want to believe that this was simply an opportunity that Loomis saw. And I don't know. I don't know if any report says, who reached out to who, but if it was the Patriots that reached out and said, hey, you're going to a 3-4, we're switching to a 4-3. Here's a guy. What do you want to make an offer? I can live with that, but based on Mickey Loomis's history, if this was some other team, I wouldn't be worried. But with Mickey Loomis's history, then yeah, it just has me a tad on it.
Kevin, we got breaking news. Oh, goodness. NFL free agency hasn't even started and it broke Twitter. Twitter is down. It's in shambles. It's in pieces. Elon, take 10 minutes away from Doge and fix goddamn Twitter. We need Twitter today. We need Twitter today.
Breaking news alert.
That was the breaking news alert.
Man, I thought you were going to tell us the Saints signed somebody.
I should have known.
I should have known. Mickey would never do that on a live show. He would never.
He would never. Please.
He only trades picks when Kevin is asleep. That's how he rolls. He was so fearful of the thunder that was going to ensue from Kevin. He's like, you know what? Kevin's passed out right now. Let's do it. Go. All systems go. Trade for Godchaux. Go. Give up the pick. Kevin's out.
Final thing, and then we'll get out of here. You don't have to give me a name, but give me a player, same exact level as Godchaux, or a position. If I told you the Saints can do one more move today, same price level, quality talent as Godchaux in free agency or another trade. I don't know. They could do a 2027 7th round pick, maybe, Kevin, and anger him more. His hair could stand up further. Give me a player or a position that you would like the Saints, if they could make one more move today at the same level as Godchaux. What would it be, Kevin?
I'm still in love with the linebacker from the Ravens, Malik Williams.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Who plays at a 3-4.
Specific answer.
Yeah, we've done it.
3-4.
I'm gonna go. Well, Andrew, you go.
I mean, I just feel like they need everything. You could literally say anything, and I would agree with it. Yeah, I mean, they need everything. So, I mean, I will say offensive line. Like, I don't know who the guy is, but I'd love to get a left guard.
Would you prefer like a 1-year old dude, Lucas Patrick, like almost the minimum, or would you prefer like a 3-year mid-range kind of guy where you're paying like $6 million a year, but it's like 3 years and you're like, the Saints are like, that's gonna be a left guard for a while?
Yeah, I think the latter.
I'm not
really looking for a Lucas Patrick situation again.
I'm going to Kevin. I'm going to go another one of our free agent bargain bin shopping episode, which people should check out. It was awesome. Let's go with another Patriot that the Saints have been sniffing around for a while. Josh Uche. Kind of was really good with the Patriots a couple years ago. They traded him to Kansas City. He didn't really work out, but he can be a stand-up linebacker in a 3-4, a pass rusher. He's been proven good in that system. The Saints could probably get him for dirt cheap, definitely less than $5 million a year. Sign him up and start building your 3-4 for Staley. Come on, Loomis, make some moves. There's nothing more besides killing my liver for money that I enjoy more than the Saints making free agents moves. I don't care if they're good moves, bad moves, great moves. I love the transaction, and I need more of it. So, come on, Mickey Loomis, make it happen. All right, so thanks to Andrew, thanks to Kevin, thanks for Thomas hanging out with us, getting a breaking news podcast up for you. Please support the show so we can keep doing this. Thanks for joining us. Keep it tuned here. Keep you locked in to Saints Happy Hour to get all your Saints breaking news analysis. And until next time, the bar is closed.